What is going on, guys? What is going on, 27 Squad? Welcome back into another video, and today we're going to be discussing the New York Giants unofficial depth chart that they released just a couple of minutes or maybe hours ago, but very recently the New York Giants released their first unofficial depth chart for the 2021 NFL season. Now, I had a chance to just quickly glance through everything, but I want to really get the chance to make this video and kind of break down this depth chart. Of course, we're not going to be taking this depth chart, very seriously. This is not exactly what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. On top of that, half of these players will not be New York Giants by September. Obviously, the depth chart needs to come down to about 53 players or 55 players this year. Maybe, I don't know, one of those two. But this is about a 90-man roster right now that I believe so. So this is pretty much who is starting the preseason and who are the projected starters and kind of a little bit of the depth. Like I said, don't take these things too seriously. If you have a player that you thought was going to be very good and they're on the bottom of the depth chart, this is really not an indication of how it's going to look week one. But let's go ahead and check this out, starting off with the offense. Obviously, Daniel Jones, Mike Glennon, Clayton Thorson. I don't think anybody really thought anything of that. Let's move on to the running backs. Very interesting here. Alfred Morris is back with the team. Gary Brightwell and Sandro Platzgummer. I really want to see more of Sandro Platzgummer. I know there's this thing about white running backs, and they're pretty much the same all the time. They're either, guys like Peyton Hillis or guys like Christian McCaffrey, but Sandro Platzgummer really reminds me of Christian McCaffrey, the way he moves back when he was playing in the German league. So I really want to see him get a chance in the preseason. Hopefully that happens, being that Saquon Barkley is probably going to be crossed off during the preseason. But yeah, I'm really excited to see Gary Brightwell and Sandro Platzgummer, very two different running backs. Devontae Booker, I'm very excited to see how he debuts with the Giants in preseason. I assume he's going to be starting the preseason. And Corey Clement, a guy I was a big fan of coming out of, I believe he's coming out of Wisconsin couple years ago, and he went undrafted to the Eagles, but I was always a big fan of Corey Clement. Excited about him. Let's move on to this wide receiving core. Now, every time the Giants release a depth chart, it's very hard to tell, or just depth charts in general, it's very hard to tell who's ahead of who in which situation, because obviously you have the two wide receiver spots here, and you don't really know who's starting the slot. You don't really know how they're managing the depth goes. Like, Sterling Shepard and Kenny Golladay are your two starters. Now, out of Darius Slayton and John Ross, obviously I guess John Ross is going to be a starting slot wide receiver. So Darius Slayton, I guess, is backing up. I guess Darius Slayton is not starting anymore. And then you kind of have to guess from there on. So I guess this is the starting slot. Okay, never mind. I just figured it out mid conversation. So this is the slot wide receivers here, and these are the outside wide receivers here. It only made sense. Kenny Golladay and Darius Slayton are the starting wide receivers, and then Sterling Shepard will be starting the slot. John Ross, I guess dime slot, right? I guess the second slot. Kadarius Toney will be second team, and which I figured as much. If John Ross remains on the team, he will be starting. He will be second string. Kadarius Toney will be, and then C.J. Board, Austin Mack, Damian Willis. These guys, I thought Austin Mack would be a slot guy, but I guess they don't have enough bigger receivers that they got to put him there, and we have two much smaller guys. So Matt Cole, Alex Bachman, Dante Pettis. Very excited for this depth. So that is the outside receivers, slot receivers. Moving on, the tight ends. So they changed up the tight ends here. Instead of just one tight end area, I guess they're just doing two tight ends. So Evan Ingram and Caden Smith will get the second tight end spot with Kyle Rudolph on the PUP list. So this gives Caden Smith an opportunity to get some reps. I hope he establishes himself in the preseason, not to really beat out Kyle Rudolph in any way. I just want him to showcase his abilities just in case one of our starting tight ends goes down, and whether it's Kyle Rudolph or Evan Ingram, and Caden Smith will actually be able to get opportunities, because you know how Wayne Gallman's career turned out. He was never able to get opportunities when Saquon was healthy, or whoever, Rashad Jennings, or guys like Orleans Darkwa, when they were healthy. Wayne Gallman never saw the field. So I don't want that same fate to be for Caden Smith. I want him to actually be able to get some snaps, even with Evan Ingram and Kyle Rudolph healthy. So let's look at that starting offensive line. Our guy, Matt Peart, cracked the starting lineup. I know I said earlier not to take this seriously, but this is a good step in the right direction for Matt Peart. I wanted to see him get that starting right tackle spot early instead of taking that back seat like he did last year to Nate Solder. Nate Solder this year, obviously I didn't want Matt Peart being the backup there. I wanted Matt Peart to start, and he is. So Nate Solder will be taking that swing tackle role this year. We'll see if he winds up beating Matt Peart. Who knows? I heard Nate Solder also took some starting reps at guard when Will Hernandez was not able to. So as far as in training camp. Will Hernandez, first time as a right guard. Nick Gates coming back at center for the second year in a row, and he's looking pretty damn good at that. I know people can underrate him. I know people can overrate him. I think Nick Gates is solid. I think he's a solid center right now. He's doing a very good job. Jonathan Harrison will be backing up, and Brett Heggie is a guy a lot of people are excited about. Shane Lemieux getting the starting nod at left guard. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm very, very worried about this. I really wanted Will Hernandez to stay at left guard to help Andrew Thomas, because if Shane Lemieux winds up bringing down Andrew Thomas because of Shane Lemieux, I'm going to be very upset. I thought they should put the more experienced guy next to Shane Lemieux and then kind of see how the right side gels by themselves. But I don't know how I feel about putting Shane Lemieux at left guard, being that he's a run blocking guard. Those should always be on the right side. Anyway, that wraps up the offense. There's not really too much. David Sills getting some more recognition here. He beats out Austin Mack, CJ Board, Damian Willis. CJ Board was a guy that was ahead of David Sills on the starting lineup last year. I know David Sills was hurt, but CJ Board got a lot of opportunities last year, and it's good to see David Sills get some more opportunities over these wide receivers. Let's look at the defense. This might take a little bit of while explaining and trying to digest. There's a lot going on here with the defense, so stick with me, guys. I know I may get boring at one point, but if you guys want some information about how this roster is shaping up, stick around. So let's start off with the defensive line first. For whatever reason, they kind of put the middle linebackers right slap in the middle of the defensive line. So let's break down the defensive ends first, which, guys, remember, in the 3-4, defensive ends are defensive tackles. Do not let that DE fool you. These guys are not playing in the 5 technique. They are playing in the 3 technique. They are 4-3 defensive tackles. These 3-4 defensive ends are, okay? Dexter Lawrence is not a guy that's going to be rushing off the edge. I know a lot of people see that and they automatically think something else. They are 4-3 defensive tackles. That is what the role they are playing, all right? But in the 3-4, they are technically defensive ends because you're ending the defensive line with them, and then your edge rushers are technically not part of the defensive line. That being said, Dexter Lawrence getting that starting nod, obviously. He had a fantastic year in his rookie year. His second year. And he had a fantastic year up to this point. Fantastic career up to this point. And I'm excited to see what he does in his third year. BJ Hill. Hopefully he gets some more opportunities this year, being that there is a little bit of a spot open there in that nose tackle area. He's not going to get any nose tackle reps, but I'm hoping they try to get Dexter Lawrence to play some nose tackle and then have BJ Hill play that 4-3 defensive tackle role. David Moa. I'm really excited about David Moa. If you guys don't know who he is, he's a former Boise State Bronco. As you guys know, that's my favorite college team. He's a smaller nose tackle defensive end. He's very similar to Nikita Whitlock. This guy was like an offensive player and then a defensive player, and now he's taking that role as a defensive tackle. So he's a smaller guy. I believe he's like 5'11" or something like that. Very small, very agile, but still big enough to play that defensive tackle role. So I'm very excited about him. RJ Mcintosh. The news have just gotten out that RJ Mcintosh has been cut by the New York Giants. So just forget about his name here. Let's move on to the nose tackle role. Austin Johnson gets the starting role over Danny Shelton. This one is one of the bigger surprises coming out of this depth chart roster here. Now, like I said, we should take this with a grain of salt. But I expected Danny Shelton to get starting reps over Austin Johnson. But maybe that's just for the preseason, just to see how Austin Johnson plays. Maybe that's just that's the reason. But I'm not a big fan of that at all. I think Danny Shelton is probably a better player right now at this point of their careers. So let's move on to the defensive tackle role. This is Leonard Williams, obviously Leonard Williams and Raymond Johnson, rookie, undrafted free agent. Leonard Williams pretty much by himself there. I think B.J. Hill is probably gonna switch around. This is, remember, I don't know why they put him at DT here, because he's probably most likely gonna be the one playing that 5 technique role, the 3/5 technique role. Not sure why they have him at DT and Dexter Lawrence at DE, but I don't know. It's just technicalities of how they assign the positions, but we know what they're gonna be playing. Okay, this is 5 technique, this is 0 technique, and this is 3 technique. Okay, he's gonna be switching between 5 and 3 depending on where the edge rusher is coming from. All right, so that being said, let's move on to our linebackers. Strong side linebackers: Lorenzo Carter, Trent Harris, Ifeadi Odenigbo, and Cam Brown. Very interested to see why Cam Brown, who was an off-ball linebacker, is not playing off-ball linebacker, and you've got Carter Coughlin, who is an edge rusher, not an off-ball linebacker, playing off-ball linebacker instead of edge rusher. So they completely have just switched these two players' positions around from what they played in college. Cam Brown was an off-ball, and Carter Coughlin was an edge. I guess they just saw something different in those two guys, and they decided to switch it. But we'll see how it shows up, because this edge rushing room is very, very crowded. So I'm completely fine with Carter Coughlin. Go ahead and getting some. He's very smart. Carter Coughlin's a very smart player. I always said that about him. He doesn't get to the quarterback, or he doesn't make plays with his strength or speed or athleticism. Although he is athletic, he's very average in all of those categories. It's really his football IQ that really helps him. If you watch him on film, he knows exactly what to do, and that's how he's successful. And he was part of the reason why we were able to contain Russell Wilson back in that win back in 2020 last year. So Blake Martinez, Reggie Ragland, these are probably the starting the number one middle linebackers. And then starting at that will spot is Tay Crowder. He's going to be starting over Devontae Downs, TJ Brunson. Ryan Anderson, I believe, is not with the team anymore either. So just completely X him out as well. Let's move on to our edge rushers. Our starting edge rushers, obviously, we already talked about this side. Ifeadi Odenigbo is going to be an edge rusher rather than a defensive end that people thought he was going to be. But I thought he was going to be an edge rusher, and I was right. So that being said, O'Shane Zimmenez, who was just activated off the PUP list, is going to be starting. I have no stock in this whatsoever. I believe Azeez Ojulari, by the end of preseason time, is going to quickly change that. No doubt in my mind he's going to change that. Ellerson Smith all the way at the bottom. I assume this just because he's a 4th round pick. Nobody knows what he's going to do yet, and it's just the preseason. So he's going to get a lot of reps in the preseason, and I imagine if he does well, he's going to quickly work his way up there and try to just split reps with Azeez Ojulari. All right, so let's move on to the secondary. We have left and right cornerbacks. Adoree is starting right. James is starting left. Isaac Yiadom starting backup right. So backup left. I'm sorry. I got my damn directions mixed up. Madre Harper, Sam Beal, who I don't even think is with the team anymore, so forget about that. And Aaron Robinson, who is on the PUP list. Darnay Holmes, you're starting slot corner. For whatever reason, they have Darnay Holmes as a right corner, but you guys know who it is, all right? So, Rodarius Williams going to be backing up on the right cornerback spot. Rodarius Williams, man, he's been looking really good in training camp. I'm really excited to see what he's going to provide in the preseason. And then we got Jaron Williams. Let's look at the safeties. Jabril, Logan, Julian, Xavier McKinney. These 4 guys are just, I love the depth that we have there. And I imagine Xavier McKinney to be on the field a lot with that 3 safety system that we have been running, that Patrick Graham has been running over the past 2 years. Quincy Wilson is going to be playing a safety role, which is interesting because Quincy Wilson's a former 2nd round pick from the Indianapolis Colts. He's somebody I was excited about. I believe Quincy Wilson is from, what college is he from? Wilson. Is he Ohio State? I believe Quincy Wilson might be from Ohio State. I could be wrong. But I like Quincy Wilson coming out of the draft, and I'm very surprised he hasn't been doing well in the NFL. So moving on, and then specialist, I mean, we could see who's starting, starting punt returner, starting kick returner, and so on and so forth, and who's going to be used in special teams. But I don't hold too much stock in it. It changes all the time throughout the year. They always find somebody to put on there. So, I mean, that being said, guys, that is the depth chart. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Is there anything that surprised you guys? Anything that you guys knew was going to happen that nobody else did? All in all, I don't think this depth chart is really any different than what I thought it was going to be, or what the majority of people thought it was going to be. There were some surprises here, like, David Sills getting a higher depth rating than a lot of people thought he would. I thought he would be in the back somewhere, but it seems like he is the third outside receiver on the depth chart. And then a couple other surprises. I guess O'Shane starting again is a little bit of a surprise, but this is just the preseason. Austin Johnson getting a starting role. Not really anything else, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, guys. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys later.